Today I'll be telling you my personal paranormal stories. So cozy up by the fire, grab some snacks and some water, and let's begin. Also, if you want your story featured on my channel, leave it in a comment or send me an email. In the future, I'll have a better way to submit stories. The first story begins on my 17th birthday. I didn't want to do much, just hang out with some of my friends. So around 8 p.m., a few of my friends came up to my house to hang out and not much else. We were bored pretty quickly and wanted to play some games. So I went looking for board games. And I came across an old Ouija board. I remember someone had gifted it to me as a joke a while back. It had never been used, partly because I had forgot we had it, and partly because my mother's stories of using one had freaked me out when I was a child. She had told me stories of encountering a seemingly demonic presence who wouldn't leave her and her friends alone for some time. Now, for the record, I consider myself a pretty rationally minded person. I'm not religious, I don't necessarily believe in ghosts or the paranormal, but I do have an interest in creepy and mysterious things. Or things that just can't be explained. So I grabbed the board and returned to my friends. They were excited, and a few were visibly nervous. We tried it out, placing our fingers on the piece. Sure enough, it began to move. To me, it was obvious we were moving it ourselves. Most of the answers we got were clearly things we wanted to hear, and sometimes it was complete gibberish. We were mostly using it to make us laugh by asking it dumb questions. I'm sure you can imagine the types of questions we were asking it as 17-year-olds and younger. I had seen an episode of Brain Games where the Ouija board was seemingly debunked. They blindfolded the players, and as a result, not a single word was spelled correctly, nor did any of it make any coherent sense. So I wasn't really worried. We stopped playing after a while and decided it would be fun to go on a drive. I'm the oldest in the group and drove a truck so we could fit everybody inside. We drove around aimlessly for a while and eventually came to one of the local parks. We got out, ran around like hooligans for a bit, then returned to the truck. We came to the second park in our local area, parked the truck so the headlights were facing the jungle gym and trailhead. This park is interesting. At the entrance to the park is, of course, the parking lot. And straight ahead, slightly to the left, is a jungle gym. And to the right of the jungle gym is a paved road that transitions into a dirt road that winds its way to the back of the property where an enormous cross on a hill oversees the town. In daytime, it's not as creepy as I make it sound, and the park is actually quite nice. At nighttime, however, it is about as creepy as it sounds. So my headlights are facing towards the jungle gym and trailhead, but mostly towards the trailhead. At this time, it's probably closer to midnight, if I remember correctly. We sat for about 5 minutes, just talking crap, hanging out. My buddy, who, for the sake of privacy, we will call Joe, is in the passenger seat with his phone out, recording a Snapchat when the unthinkable happens. Directly in front of us, maybe 30 to 40 feet, and about 10 to 15 feet off the ground, a pale white, translucent figure forms out of the dark, slowly and gracefully floats across the trailhead directly into my headlights, moving right. It was moving slow, but steady. When it reached the other side of the trail, it vanished into the leaves of a tree high off the ground. The whole event probably spanned 5 to 7 seconds total, and it was recorded on my buddy's phone. As soon as it was gone, fear struck directly into my heart and the hearts of my friends, as what we had just seen began to hit us. Many began to scream. I threw my truck into reverse, whipped it around, and hightailed it out of the area. We made it back home. The entire drive was a frantic conversation between everyone, trying to describe what we had seen. Now remember, I am a skeptic. On a good day, consider myself an atheist, and I'm decently deep into things like rationality and the Socratic method, and enjoy a good debunking video. So I knew I had to take control of the conversation. Stop. We have to do this correctly. If we all start to describe what we saw, all of our stories will change enough so they seem to fit together. We'll start to remember the event differently in our heads, just so they match with the other stories. It's a subconscious thing that the brain does with memory. Picture what you saw in your mind right now, and be firm with yourself about what it looked like. Do your best to not let your mind change what you think you saw because another person's story influenced it to be that way. I'm going to write down what I saw, and I'll tell my story last. Go. At the end of the stories, it was clear. Everyone saw the same thing. A white figure floating about 10 feet off the ground, across the trailhead, into my headlights, and then gone. My written story matched the rest as well. Never changed. There were a few minor differences in detail. Someone thought it was about 5 feet off the ground, while the others were sure it was slightly higher, but nothing too crazy. Through the rest of the night, we watched that video Joe captured on his phone, over and over again, looking for the ghost. It looked like the camera was pointing at the right spot when it happened, but there was nothing. Just nothing. No matter how hard we analyzed each pixel, nothing was to be seen in the video. Just a few jokes being cracked in the back seat, then a sudden silence, followed by screaming and the screeching of tires. I go to this park often, and sometimes at night, to see if I could see something once again, but I have yet to see anything after the incident. To this day, I have no idea what we saw. The second story takes place only a few years ago. I think I was around 19. My family, along with some family friends, had all pitched in together to rent a beach house for a few days. I had brought a friend that we'll call Jerry. Now, immediately, this house was off-putting. The vibes were just strange. Everyone, including the adults, except for my father, as he is a passionate non-believer of these types of things, knew something was up from the first night. One couple had said they had heard noises in the kitchen, like silverware, pots and pans being moved around. But when they got up to see who was in the kitchen, nobody was there. Another adult had asked us if we had been knocking on their walls during the night, as we were sleeping on a giant couch outside 2 rooms in an upstairs loft. We were not. This particular adult was not really someone you wanted to upset, and we were young adults, not kids. It's just not something we would do. As a side note, I'm probably going to have to draw a diagram of the layout of this house, as it's hard to explain. My buddy and I constantly, every night, would hear things downstairs. We went to look once or twice the first few nights and found nothing. After that, we just stayed on the couch, protected by the light from the TV. There was a story from almost everyone who was staying in this house. At the very least, they heard noises. And there was easily more than 12 people staying in this place. Then, on one night, deep into the trip, when we had finally begun to adjust to the noises as best we could, I saw something that would haunt my mind for days to come. My buddy and I were sitting on the couch, watching TV. This couch was massive and spanned a good portion of the room. When I suddenly felt off, I looked to my left and saw something terrifying, making my eyes water just from remembering this so I can write the script. It was best described as a shadow creature, a phantom, a ghost, whatever. It wasn't white like at the park. It was pitch black, darker than the darkness of the room. When I saw the ghost at the park, I was scared. But if I had to make a judgment based purely off what I observed and my intuition, I'd say the ghost was not evil, it did not pose a threat. But in this case, I cannot say the same. My gut tells me this thing was not friendly, and the way I saw it shook me to my core. It was peeking around the corner, watching me like a stalker. Its spindly long fingers visibly held the corner of the wall as it looked at me. Then, when it saw that I had seen it lurched its head back, along with its hand, and vanished. I obviously freaked out, jumped up, ran across the couch, a whole lot closer to my buddy, and began to explain, not crying, but with definite tears in my eyes, what I had seen. He stopped me with an almost excited tone and look on his face. "You saw something," he said. "Yeah," I said, confused from his attitude. "I saw something this morning, at the top of the stairs, but I didn't say anything because I thought I was just seeing things." "What did you see?" I asked him. A tall, skinny, black figure, watching me from behind cover. My heart sank. I was terrified. I didn't sleep that night, and probably didn't sleep fully until we left that place. This experience was probably the scariest, quote-unquote, paranormal encounter I've ever had. I don't even like to think about it. I had recently talked about it with the same friend who was there, and his memory of the house was buried so deep, I had to draw a diagram of the layout just to jog his memory. Watching the memories come bursting into his head was a sight to behold. He was clearly disturbed, as I was, by the whole trip, and probably buried those memories very deep. Well, those are my 2 stories I have that I have no explanation for. I have other stories too, but they are too easily explained by natural phenomena. These are the 2 memories that keep me up at night, thinking. If this video does okay, I see no reason not to bring up my other stories. So if you like this video, please leave a comment, a like, subscribe. If you want your story featured on this channel, leave it in a comment, shoot me an email, and I just might share your story on the channel too. Peace.